The London Gem and Mineral Show is back, taking place at Sandown Park Racecourse on Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th of November. Experience the best of the crystal, mineral and fossil industry as we gather the finest specimens over 2 unforgettable days. You can discover hands-on workshops and activities, crack open your own geodes and delve into talks from the industry experts. And not forgetting that the Opal Whisperers from the Discovery Channel are back, coming all the way from Australia with some show-exclusive pieces in tow. So what are you waiting for? Join us for an immersive journey at the London Gem and Mineral Show, where traders and enthusiasts alike are invited to discover the Earth's natural treasures all under one roof. Book now at thegemandmineralshow.com or follow us on Instagram at The Gem and Mineral Show. We'll see you there. Want to discover London like never before? Step beyond the surface with WOW Tours. Explore the city's hidden spiritual secrets, walk ancient ley lines and uncover the mysteries of London's past, present and future. Brought to you by Wisdom on Wellness and led by renowned crystal author and Akashic Records reader Gemma Petherbridge, these are more than just tours. They're journeys into the heart of London's esoteric history. Book your spot today and see London through a whole new lens. Visit wowtourslondon.com for tickets. Hello and welcome to the WOW Talks podcast. In today's episode, recorded live at WowFest this year, Sarah Lamptey, our host, is joined by Lotan Carter. Some of you might recognise Lotan from his time with the Dream Boys or as a contestant on Big Brother, but he joined us at WowFest this year to share something far more personal, his journey of recovery and overcoming addiction. Lotan opens up about his struggles, resilience, and the transformation that led him to a life of purpose and advocacy. And his story is filled with courage and hope, and he offers valuable insights and practical advice on how to break free from addiction and embrace recovery. So get ready for a powerful conversation about reclaiming your life one step at a time. We hope you enjoy.
So, welcome to Wisdom on Wellness. This is the talk span. I was a presenter here last year and it was great. We had so many fantastic conversations around all the brilliant activities going on outside. Have you had a chance to have a look around yet? We're quite early into the day. So if you walk around the corner, there's actually a brilliant beatboxer, street artist called Beat Fox. He does amazing things with his mouth. He's a brilliant beatboxer. He's a fantastic street artist as well. So there's a lot going on around there. Fantastic children's activities as well. But you're here. You're in the best place. So I'm Sarah Lamptey. I'm a presenter in different ways. I do morning live presenting BBC stuff here and there. And I run a charity called Shower Box. So I give showers to anyone in need. Tends to be people on the streets. So it's just really brilliant to be part of this wellness festival and talking about how, I guess, small changes can make big differences. So that's Shower Box. I just shamelessly plug my own charity. But the best thing about being here, in my opinion, on Wisdom and Wellness is that I get to talk to people like you. And this is Lotan Carter. We're going to be hearing your story. And when I was researching you, Lotan, the testimonials were just so fantastic. And watching people's transformations was really incredible and really moving. You're achieving so much with your touring, your coaching, and you're being a father. And so I just was wondering, how do you do it all? And how does it feel to be doing so much?
Hello. Sorry, I'm really not used to talking. I'm normally quite a loud person. Hannah, my heart struggled so much at first. Like, it was massively overwhelming. My partner and I actually split a year ago. So we do 50-50. I don't know if any of you experienced that, but it's so different from being like a part of a unit that kind of like pink job, blue jobs. I don't know how you'll feel about what I just said there, but you understand what I mean, right? I'll take the bins out, she'll change the nappy here and there, and we'll switch occasionally. And then doing it all by yourself whilst running other businesses and stuff. But I realised I had no choice, so it had to work. And I think partly because of my ADHD, when I'm forced into a situation, I normally flourish but I also need to build that anxiety behind it as well, which isn't the healthiest way to do things, but unfortunately it's just the way that I function. But I've managed to, I've understood that actually if I'm not good at something, or for example, running the admin stuff for my coaching business, I actually have a female coach as well. It's always nice to have a guy and a girl as well, because I don't have a uterus. It's very true, I'll show you. But I know that if I'm taking coach calls or I'm planning, like creating new plans for people, and then I'm taking WhatsApps. I'm very, very on it with my clients. Like, I'm so supportive, probably a little bit too much at times. But I couldn't do it all. And I found like it was taking me a long, long time to do so. So what I found is I actually employed someone else who was amazing. She's walking sunshine. And she's fantastic at her job. So I can literally make a call to her and go, can you change this? Can you do that? And she does it. And I'm like, brilliant. Don't have to worry about it. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about streamlining everything.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's two things I wanted to pick up on. When you said probably too supportive, I've definitely got to ask you about that, if you don't mind sharing, because that can be a lot of pressure, I guess, when people are sort of reliant on you for their mental health, I guess, as well as their physical health. It'd be good to talk about that. But also, you're talking about the pressure. To paraphrase, is it something like that you work well under pressure, or you need a bit of a deadline in order to make it happen?
Fortunately, it's a bit of both. But what I've realised is there are some things that I know that I need to do, and some things that I really don't have to put myself in such a terrible situation in order to achieve. Like, I've always tested well, so if ever, like, I won't revise, but if I know it kind of thing. And if I don't really care for it, which is kind of a bit annoying at times because it was so hard to absorb information. But yeah, I realised that I do need a level of pressure, and I kind of have to keep that going behind me at all times. So actually, it does make my life a bit easier by making it harder at the same time. But I understand that's just how I function. Now, everyone's different, obviously. I wouldn't recommend putting yourselves under massive amounts of pressure just to get something done. If you can avoid it, please do, because stress is a nightmare.
Yeah. How do you manage the stress then?
It's a skill. I've not mastered it. It's something you have to practice for the longest of times, but I'm constantly reminding myself, if ever something is said to me or I'm given some kind of information that initially causes stress, all stress is unanswered questions, no matter where you are in your life, okay? Someone say something to you, oh my God, that's really stressful, I've now got to do such and such and such. Cool, but if you actually take a moment and say, right, how much control do I have of this situation? Okay, if the answer is some, take it. For what you don't, you need to learn to let it go. Because all you're doing is stressing about something that hasn't happened yet. If it does happen, you stress twice. If it doesn't happen, you stress for no reason at all. Give it its moment and then just kind of let it go. And again, it doesn't just happen like that. I'm a very impatient person naturally. And since having my little girl, I've become so patient of everything because I realized that actually everyone is just experiencing life. Like, no matter how they are doing it, they may struggle with certain things and not others, but everyone's different. So you've got to be understanding of that.
I think saying, I really like the way you put that. If it does happen, then you stress twice. I'm going to remember that because it is something where I think sometimes if you suffer from anxiety or stress, as I do, I have done and can do, you in some way almost think, if I think about every sort of option, if I think about every possible outcome, maybe I'll prepare myself for it. But actually, it doesn't prepare myself for it. It either doesn't happen and it was a waste of energy and focus, or like you say, you stress twice and you're not really any more prepared. Thinking 10 years ago, roughly 10 years ago, where would we find you with your mental health? I like that you're smiling. That's the important thing, isn't it? Talk to me about what that would have looked like.
I've been a performer since I was 18, 19. Been a professional dancer and I've done all sorts and been everywhere. It seems really, really lovely. Unfortunately, being a young man surrounded by lots of temptation and this, that, and the other, it's a very hedonistic lifestyle. I was taking lots of drugs. I was partying until the wee hours. I had no structure in my life. I was training just enough to stay in shape so that I could go on stage. Fortunately, I didn't have the worst face in the world. Now, all this seems really superficial, but unfortunately, that was the world I was in as well. But I realised that something I thought I was doing by the drug taking to make myself, I don't know, because I was doing it because I was having fun. And then I realised that when I wasn't having fun, I was doing it. And then I realised that I would have a come down and then I was doing it to get over the come. And all of a sudden, I was a cocaine addict. And it was like, my mental health was non-existent. I was forever having to go on stage with a smile and then meet and greet everyone and be like this really happy version of myself that actually I was jealous of, because as soon as I come off stage, the jacket come off and I was dying inside and it was horrible. but I didn't feel like I had a reason. I had no purpose, and I think that I needed that. And realizing as I got older, it was my purpose. I think most people's is to serve somewhat. Like, what can I give? And when I had children and stuff, and obviously my ex has got 2 kids as well, which I've helped raise for the past 6 years, you realize that there's so much more to life than just the things that the Instagrammable crap, excuse my French, that everyone's sort of into. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've spoken, I think, quite a lot about this over this weekend as well. What can become normal in certain scenes. I've done sort of quite a lot of kind of commercial modelling and a bit of acting and that, and that's a lot of it is to do with networking, and part of the job almost feels like that bit at night, which has nothing actually to do with your job or how good you are, and what becomes normal is actually very skewed. And I imagine particularly in sort of dancing and everything, did it seem at some point, well, everyone's doing it? Was there that sort of feeling?
At one point we had, I'm going to be totally honest, at one point I was probably doing drugs 4 nights out of 7, and it was so commonplace in my existence. I was almost caged in by, I have really supportive friends, but unfortunately supportive friends were very supportive of my drug habit because they were all doing it as well. So it was almost, where it was so normalized, it didn't seem abnormal. Yeah. And it wasn't till, again, there was like a pivotal point in my life where I met my ex, and I saw how my life could be, and I saw the man that I wanted to be, and I was nowhere near it. But instead of running from it, I just kind of, I started realizing that's what I want to move towards. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but we'll just see where it goes. And I figured that so many times in my life, I've always had this, I was always moving on to the next goal, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I'd never celebrate my wins. I was always looking for more and more and more. And I'm not sure if that's my ADHD, but it was driving me insane. And now, if my goal is happiness, I want to enjoy every moment of how I'm getting there. Now, I've got opportunities given to me left, right, and centre, and it's only as a result of me just kind of letting it be, which is really difficult because we want to control everything. Like, just down to every little thing that I've ever done, I've wanted to take full control of, like even down to separating from relationships. Like, I didn't want to be in a relationship, but why would she want to leave me? I don't understand. I'm doing really well here. But then we'd get back together and I'd end up ending it. And it was just a control thing. So the ego kind of has just taken a back seat over the years.
Thinking about that pivotal moment where you said you wanted to push towards who you knew you wanted to be, the sort of life that you knew you wanted to have and deserved, I feel as though it takes a bit of sort of confidence and self-esteem to move towards that place, I think. And how did you sort of, because all you knew was the life you've just described, how did you begin to push towards this new life that you actually didn't know?
I tried killing myself a few years ago, about 8 years ago. I'm sorry if I'm talking about it very blasé, but I wouldn't change it, because even though I've never felt so sad and unworthy and unwanted, and it was just horrible. It's a terrible position to be in. Everything, it was almost like a rebirth. The way that I looked at life, the lens that I'm choosing to see it through, the way that I feel towards other people, down to the way I'm spoken to by people that are being absolute arses or something. I kind of, okay, can we park the fact that you're really rude to me right now? Are you okay? What's going on in your life? Because more often than not, it's very rarely the conversation you're having with someone at the time that causes them to blow up at you. It's the 10,000 things that they've been bottling up for the past month or whatever, and this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. So I'd like to say that I tried so hard to finish myself off, and I did, because I have anxiety and depression, or had it. Depression is being really selfish, and anxiety is worrying too much. So I didn't want to be here enough, but I didn't want to scare anyone or to think that anyone else could have had control of what I was doing to myself, so that I tried doing it by misadventure. So I tried taking too many drugs so that people would know that I was already doing it and just assume that, oh, he just went a little bit overboard. I was actively trying to do it. When I realised that it wasn't happening and I didn't want to feel the way that I was anymore, I had no choice but to move forward. And I didn't know how to do it. I just did it. And I feel like a lot of people think too much about the how and don't act enough. They just need to kind of, it's like people going to the gym to train. 80% of the people in the gym have no idea what they're doing, but they're there, okay? They've taken the big step, okay? And they'll see results to some degree. And then that's kind of just how I moved forward.
Does it seem like a lifetime ago, that person?
It really does. The fact that I'm not sat here crying about it, because I spoke, I think, about 2 or 3 years after on a podcast, and I broke down because I was so unhappy that I let myself get to that point, that I didn't believe in myself enough, that I thought that I was the world better place without me. Yeah, it's a very, very strange thing to feel. I'd never want anyone to experience it, but at the same time, like I said, I would never change it, because everything that I am now is as a result of what I've been through. And I'm not proud of everything I've done or I've said or how I've acted, but I have the opportunity every day now to wake up, to make someone smile, to live my life the best way I can. And if I don't do it well enough that day, I can do it again tomorrow.
And that leads us on to where you are now, because, you know, looking on your Instagram and the things that you say and the messages and the clear transformations that you're supporting people with, it's just amazing. And one of your quotes, which I loved, and we're in such a hurry to duck or run from anything remotely uncomfortable that we never really know what we're capable of overcoming. And this is, of course, how we look at challenge and how we push through the barriers and self-limiting dialogue that we have. Do you think this is a modern human response to challenge? So we want the easy road generally because, you know, our ancestors way, way, way back, they would have had this fight or flight instinct. Do you think we've evolved away from that, where we don't even want to take it on, we just want to retreat?
Yeah, I've noticed this more and more, even more so since I've been coaching and stuff. And also because I have this comparison of my little girl, she will never give up. And at some point or another, we've all been in a position where we believe in ourselves enough that you all tie your shoelaces, I'm assuming. You can all do that, right? The reason for that, like, you didn't give up after the first time. You had to keep doing it. Yeah, you couldn't walk at one point, but never did you see a little baby just start walking, sit down and go, sod that, not doing that anymore. They carry on. But unfortunately, we are living in a world where everything's made so easy. And I think the comparison we now have at the touch of a button, essentially on our phone, it does make it difficult for people. It ruins your esteem because you think everyone else is living this life and they've got all these things and you can't have it. Like before, you'd compare yourself to how good you are at football with the lad down the street. Now it's, well, there's 8 billion people right here, right now, making me feel like I'm just no good. So, yeah, I think everything's made too easy, like emails, everything's like this. Our attention span on social media is around 2.8 seconds or something like that before we're scrolling. TikTok's gone off because we don't care what information we're having. Just give it to me sort of thing. It doesn't even matter anymore. So delayed gratification is such a struggle with a lot of my clients. They spend 20 years living the way they're living, thinking the way they're thinking, and then 2 weeks in, they're like, well, I don't get it. Or why am I not a stone and a half lighter? And why do I not love the world that I live in and stuff? I'm like, be easy on yourself. Like, be patient. You've taken that long to get you to where you are now. We need to spend a bit of time in order to kind of reverse the process. I deal with NLP as well, so neuro-linguistic programming. Essentially, your mind is like a map. Imagine you driving down a road every time you make a choice, okay? Every time you drive down that same road, you build a brick wall, a little bit higher, until before you know, your executive function takes over, okay? And you are doing things without even realizing. You ever driven somewhere before and not known how you got there? Got to the other end and like, well, how did that happen? It's the same, okay? So you need to start taking different roads. In order to do this, you're gonna slip back into the other road because it's habit. But you just have the need and the want and the need to persist, continue. Don't berate yourself every time you do something that's bad or that you feel was habitual before. I've taken drugs since I stopped years ago. Like, I don't beat myself up after it though. Like, it was a while ago now, but the difference between who I was and who I am is the person I was before would have hated myself for it and then continue to do it as almost like my saboteur. Do you know what I mean? Like self-sabotage, just keep ruining myself over and over. This time was different. It was like, well, you're an idiot for doing that. You've done it now. Can you change it? No. So I can either keep looking in the past or I can move forward.
And how did you move forward? Because obviously you've described this really intense time of your life, and would you call yourself do you call yourself?
Yeah, I was
do,
definitely sorry guys, didn't expect this to joke. I was definitely a functioning addict.
Yeah.
I was taking it more than I wasn't, but I also hated myself for doing what I was doing, and like I said, it was just this constant destructive loop. I just couldn't seem to get out of it. It wasn't until I realised I've probably known for a long time that I was ADHD, but I just thought like, it's just people a bit hyperactive and jumping around and I'm very loud and this, that and the other. And when I got diagnosed, I had a bit of a identity crisis because unfortunately everything people love about me are symptoms of this, I don't want to say defect or something like that, 'cause it's a terrible turn of phrase, but I was very different. But being loud and outgoing and people like being around me and funny in the life and soul and this, that and the other, I was like, oh, wonderful, take that away. Who am I? And then I realized, obviously, this is a part of who I am. But in doing so, I did a lot of research and kind of beginning to understand that I feed off of things that make me feel good. I want to be around, I have attachments to people. If you make me feel good, I want to be around you. Like, make me smile, I will never forget you. But it is about that growth and kind of taking the time to look inward. Not many people want to hold up a mirror to themselves these days because they don't like what they see.
And it sounds like forgiveness and forgiving yourself in that moment was really powerful as well, to not beat yourself up and to just move on to the many things that you are doing.
Exactly. I hated myself for years. Like, oh, this is terrible. But yeah, I did.
It's not terrible. Thank you for sharing.
It wasn't very nice.
I was wondering about competition in your coaching. Do you think, because we talked about comparisons and obviously we've got so many ways we can compare ourselves on social media with so many people, what do you think of competition? Is it like a positive fueler or is it something that can be distracting and just leave you jealous and pissed off, basically? How do you view it as a coach?
Right, I have 2 groups with my coaching on WhatsApp, okay? I try to match people to the group that, hello, Cara. Cara's one of my clients.
Hello. What's he like? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, feel free. She won't stop talking though. She can talk the leg off the chair. No, I have 2 groups, as Cara knows. One, they're just basically trying to differentiate like who will suit what. So in one group, I could have competitions in Cara's group, for example. Very driven. They can kind of take the information that I'm giving. I don't need to mollycoddle as much. And if I were to, they would probably get a little bit offended. Like, you don't have to do you know what I mean? Whereas I've also got a group that I know that I need to be a little bit softer with, but I need to take a different approach. So...
Do they know that they're in these groups?
They do. Like, I'm very open and honest about it. Like, I'm doing this to better serve them. I have actually moved some people from one group to the other. If I feel that actually they've gained such mental strength and stuff like that. But if I was to say some of the things that I say in Cara's group, in the other group, I wouldn't get the same response. So it is really important to understand, but at the same time, I don't want to cater to everyone's insecurities. I want to understand them, but not become a slave to them, because then they're never going to grow.
Yeah, it's brilliant that obviously you use that to sort of inform your coaching style, and it makes sense. It makes sense to do that. Congratulations on Bear Entertainment. It sounds amazing. It looks wicked. I had a little research, and it sounds like you've had a couple of setbacks along the way with somebody perhaps trying to freeze you out or making it their domain. How do you keep positive and determined with all that you're doing?
It isn't easy. Again, it's like anything. It's a skill. I don't think for 2 seconds, because I'm so like upbeat and positive as much of the time as I can be, that my life is great. It's not. I have the same issues that everyone else does. I just choose to see the good where I can. And sometimes it's so hard to see. I went through something last year. My nan passed away, and she was the only adult in my life, I think, that's never made me feel bad. She was a real nan. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's okay. Like, always say the right things. Kind of give me a nudge sometimes, but she was wonderful. And that was a lot for me to take.
What was her name?
Pardon?
What was her name?
Sonia. She was wonderful. She passed away. So a couple of months later, my mum was then diagnosed with cancer. Now, I would have been a mess had my nan not passed away. Now, I had to watch my nan go through that. And then after it happened, I kind of knew that how to approach the situation, and it's going to hurt regardless, but I can get pissed off, or I can actually go, right, okay, well, let's deal with this. What control do we have of the situation? What is your diet? Are you moving? Are you doing these things? My mum just wanted to drink wine, and actually, funnily enough, she was told she had to have chemo. The funny part's coming. She did a Britney, so she shaved all of her head, and then she went to the doctors, and they told her, no, actually, we don't have to have it. We sorted it out. So now my mum's got a skinhead around here.
Does she
She's quite
rock
a
it?
funky woman. She has her hair up like yours most of the time with a wrap around it, so you'd never know. But yeah, it's all about what you want to take from the situation. Cara's been in a few situations actually with like guys at the gym and stuff like that. She don't want to talk about that. We won't do that. But ultimately, it is about perception. Okay, we all live in. We're all blessed. We live in probably the best time ever. Like, we haven't got to worry about people running in on horseback and shooting us with arrows for no reason, all that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Fairly fortunate. There's some messed up things going on, I know, but ultimately, we have it so easy right now, but subjectively, everyone thinks that their life is over, and it's not. It is what we make it. It really is.
Yeah. And just a little side point that actually I read recently that actually the world has never been so conflict-free, despite all the horrible, atrocious things that are clearly going on and should not be going on, etc. But actually, in comparison, it's actually never been so conflict-free since conflict began, the beginning of time. Anyway, just a side point. What has being a father brought to your life? We've only got a couple more minutes.
I'm so sorry, I have to pull a leg off a chair.
What's being a father brought to your life? And what do you hope for from the future?
I'm learning more about myself when I'm asking her not to do things than I ever realised, because she's literally doing everything I've ever done. She has my mannerisms and stuff like that, and my attitude as a young man too, which I love her for, but I've never had patience. I want everything yesterday. I would cheat for doing things as and whenever I could. Like, I've taken steroids over the years, like, just because I needed to look that way ASAP. And it was like, I didn't understand what the process was, because I was forever like looking for the next thing. And it was like, well, what's the hurry? I'll never really, if I gave you £1 million or you earn £1 million, which would you spend faster? Probably the one you're gifted, right? Because you don't know what graft went into the actual process itself. And it's no different. So patience is probably the biggest gift my little girl could have given me.
And the future?
Who knows? I just want to be happy, to be honest. I want my daughter to live a good life as best she can. And yeah, like, what more can you ask for?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're
So
so
brilliant to
welcome.
talk to you. If anyone has any questions, I'm sure Lotan wouldn't mind sticking around for a couple of minutes if anyone wants to come and talk to him. But I really appreciate you sharing your story and also being as open as you are, because that's how we all feel connected, and we've all got our stories which we can relate to. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks to you all for being here.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you for listening to our Wow Talks podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And we'd love for you to share your own wisdom on wellness. Join the conversation, share this episode with a friend, or follow us on social media for more updates at Wisdom on Wellness. Until next time.